Good morning, friends. Today we are continuing the topic of heredity. The first lesson of heredity is principles and inheritance and variations. Principles of inheritance and variations. And yesterday we got the knowledge about variation, types of variation. They were somatic variation and germinal variation. These are two types, continuous and discontinuous variation, and there are further two types, substantive and meristic. You studied yesterday. Today is a very interesting and basic topic. That some earlier views of heredity, our pre-generations, what they thought about the heredity. There are some theories. First theory is moist vapor theory. It is about 500 BC, and Pythagoras was the father of the moist vapor theory. They thought, our ancestors thought there are some vapors that the urge of sex producing next generation is very strong in every organism, every plant, every animal. It is natural. So when the two bodies were in sexual contact, they thought that there were some vapors which combine of two body, and vapors result in future generation. And next theory was by other scientists. These are the fluid theory. Moist vapor theory by Pythagoras, and fluid theory was by Aristotle. Aristotle thought, and their colleagues thought, that there is coagulation of blood, male blood and female blood fuse. That was also failed. And after some years, after 100 years, 80 years, the other theory was pre-formation theory. It was given by Leeuwenhoek. Leeuwenhoek and his colleague thought the sperm and egg are there, and there are many organisms. Every sperm, every egg has homunculus, little man in sperm, little man, little body in egg, and two fuse to form future generation. And next theory was by epigenesis, and they thought that those scientists thought later on that there is embryo development, and embryo development result in tissue formation, and organogenesis is there. And it was in 1738 to 1794, for 54 years, the people thought that there is epigenesis. In 1809 to 1882, our forefathers, great-grandfathers, people, and Darwin thought that there are pangenesis. Pangenesis are small organisms which by bloodstream reach the gonads, and in gonads the gametes are formed, and blending of gamete is there, that is pangenesis. An intermediate organism is formed. This is the pangenesis. Pangenesis, intermediate organism is formed. And later on, other people made the other theories, and then after the pangenesis, the other theories came forward. Pangenesis, the inheritance theory is there. The inheritance says that there are two types of genes are there, alternative genes, alleles are there, the traits, some traits appear, some traits are unexpressed. And Mendel was the forefather of genetics. He did many plant breeding experiments in plants, and he was a monk. He grew and studied in Astoria. He said there are some expressed and unexpressed hidden characters in every organism. There are particulate entities. Mendel was born in Czechoslovakia, education in Astoria, and did the experimental plants of hybridization. And he did experiments with the plant Pisum sativum, pea plant. He selected the pea plant because pea plant is very simple, very short generation, self-fertilization is there, and closed female parts in the petals, the self-fertilization, and emasculation. He did emasculation experiment. Emasculation means cross-fertilization. He took out the male part of the plant and and cross-fertilized artificially. He studied the 7 contrasting characters of tallness, flowers, and seeds, grey, wrinkled, and round seeds. He studied the character of pod. Pod means the legume in which the pea seeds are there. Pod, the grey pod, and white pod, and he studied Pisum sativum as his plant, as his experimental plant, and did many experiments of heredity, and gave the laws of heredity. Mendel's laws are very interesting. They are laws of factors, means law of genes. Law of dominance means some characters are expressed, some are not expressed. That is called law of dominance. Then law of segregation means he said there is a meiosis during the meat formation, and the genes and chromosomes separate. That is law of segregation. And he gave law of independent assortment, means during fertilization the male and female gametes fertilize independently. This is all basic topics of the Mendel and the principles of inheritance. Tomorrow we will study the Mendel's law of inheritance, 4 laws, very interesting, and some of the interesting terms in the lesson you study yourself. You must study, go through from the biology. And one thing very interesting, the most simple and easy subject is biology. Thank you. God bless.